Wow. Isn't this an exciting time? Can't wait to see where we're going to be going with the Shotgun World Shoot. So for those of you who don't know, my name's Leighton Oosthuisen. I'm the Regional Director for United States. And with me, I'm actually coming to you from Arizona over on the West Coast. Over on the East Coast, we've got Adam Maxwell. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Leighton. Got my igloo all sealed up, and I know exactly where we're going with IPSC Shotgun. We're going to Greece, baby.
Yeah, super excited about that. So we're going to be doing a couple of things in this broadcast. First of all, I want to thank you guys all for joining in. I want to thank everybody for putting together, my team over here, Joe and Max, Adam on the other side, Rick over at USPSA, Jake. Really appreciate you guys doing this, and this is going to be something we're going to try and do in the future with our broadcasts and try and bring a little bit more attention to the sport. We've got some other people out there streaming, Brian with HD Gold, etc. So we're going to basically show you a short video of the teams. You'll be able to see who the division teams are. Then after that, we're going to do a slide presentation, and I'm going to run through how the selections were made so that everybody's completely clear and transparent on that. And then Adam and I will take some questions at the end and try and answer anything that you guys might have. So with that, we're going to switch over to the video. Wow, that's so exciting. Adam, I've watched that video probably 4 or 5 times after the crew have finished, and I still get shrills and shivers running up and down my spine seeing our team. So congratulations to everybody. What do you think?
Man, it was a hard fought battle all the way, and we definitely the cream rose towards the top. We got really good teams all the way around for sure.
So, as you guys know, we still don't have our slots from IPSC. That's coming to us, hopefully, I keep saying this, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So, because of various things and timelines, and we're going to talk about that here in a second, we decided to go ahead and announce the teams today. There's been a lot of discussion behind the scenes. I know it's kind of short notice, but with the SHOT Show coming up next week, we're under a lot of pressure from ammunition for you guys to know who's going and who might be going. We're going to announce the first 25-ish, 25, 20, 30 slots today. And then I'm also going to talk about a little bit, who else is in the pipeline after that based on the number of slots. As Adam mentioned, this has been a process. We've all worked pretty hard on this. You guys have done all the work. You've done all the shooting. And we'll kind of come to the actual matches and so forth that were shot. So let's take a look at some of the kind of the timeline and how we got to this point. Obviously, we all know we're going to Greece, Shotgun World Shoot. Everything we talk about in selection comes from the I think this was the 2025 Shotgun World Shoot policy that was written back in the day. You guys can go read it. I wanted to point this website out to you. This is obviously the IPSC-USA.com website. This is our website. This is USPSA's website showing where all the data is, the data from your matches, where the policies are, the code of conduct, etc. And then also we're going to be putting more and more information on there, the things we cover in this session and in other sessions, we're going to be loading to that page. So remember, if you guys need to find that, spread the word. It's going to be under IPSC-USA.com. Want to look at a couple of these sections in here that are relevant to you guys. Just going to run through them real quick. Number 4, the points are determined via your division overall percentages in any of the approved qualifying events. As you guys know, we had 6 of the events. For example, if you shoot 100%, you earn 100 points, and if you shoot 87%, you earn 87 points. The division and categories points must be earned in the division and or category shot at the qualifying matches. You can't shoot modified in one match and open in the other and combine those two. It has to be in the same division. To qualify for category selection, you must meet the minimum requirements in Section 3. Basically, that's that 60% of the overall, and we'll come back to that here later on, just in brief, and then later down the road, we'll be talking about that in more detail. Qualifying process, as we mentioned, it's accrued through the accrual process of the points. Division teams are always formed before the category teams, and we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. The points earned are from the best 3 of your approved qualifiers. Only the members with the highest qualifying score in a division will be aggregated. Individual slots. So the way this works is obviously we allocate the division teams first, which you guys saw. We had 4 teams that you saw the names of, and I will have a slide that has those teams and that you can share publicly. After that, we have 2 category teams that have qualified so far. That would be the Open Senior team and the Ladies Standard team. Once those are allocated, we look at the alternates for the division teams. Because we're still a long way out, we've actually selected 2 alternates to each of the teams because there's often a lot of changes, and this way we kind of know how to plan for that. And then we look at the category teams after that, individuals, and then, of course, pre-match. So the division teams receive slots 1 through 16, 4 teams, 4 members per team. Very easy to work out. Once we get into the category teams, it becomes a little more, not complicated, just a little bit more tricky. You've got to know what your points and so forth are. We've already covered that. Sorry, I went backwards. The individual participation allocation is something that has also attracted a lot of attention. So if you're an individual and you don't make it onto one of the teams, the division teams or category teams, then how do you know if you're going to get a slot? Well, it's based on the number of people that participated in the different matches. So you'll see, this is obviously section 8.2. Adam and I went back and had a look at the 119 competitors in open, 61 in modified, 62 in standard. Manual had 15, so that gave us a total of 257. If you work the percentages out, those are there on your screen. You can see that. And so an example would be, and this is probably going to be close to what's really going to happen. We don't know the number of slots ahead of time, but we know that it's in the sort of a region of what we've done in the past. And you guys that went to Thailand all knew those numbers. So we generally receive 2 allotments. We receive the first one, which is based on the total number of competitors that are in the World Shoot. It's probably going to be the region of 25 slots that we'll receive from IPSC. Those are going to be allocated to the division teams, and I'll cover that. I'll show you the slot numbers here in a little bit. And then once the rest of the world gets, so basically the IPSC sends out all of those slots to start off with, right? And then you have approximately 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks to respond back. We have to pay for the slots we accept, or we have to turn in slots we don't want. Now, obviously, we take everything we could get, but there's many regions that are not interested in going, or they don't have enough competitors, and they then return those slots to IPSC, and IPSC then accumulates all of those numbers, and they then issue a second allotment, a second round of slots. In the past, based on our experience, those numbers are anything between 35 and like 50, 55, thereabouts. We obviously don't know what that number is because we don't know how many other regions are returning their slots. In handgun, it's obviously a very difficult match to get into. PCC is a little easier. Rifle and shotgun probably going to be somewhere down there as well. So I think there's an excellent chance we'll get 50 slots. I'm told that the match is approximately the same size as the handgun match that was held in South Africa, which means there's going to be around 600 to 700 main match slots. And so therefore I'm fairly comfortable saying we're going to get about 50 slots. But as USPSA has said before, we cannot allocate that second round of slots to you guys until we know we have them, because the last thing I want to do, or anybody wants to do, is give you a slot and then come back to you and say, I'm sorry, we didn't get enough slots, we're going to have to take that away. We can't have that. So The way we're going to do this is we're going to allocate the first 25 slots, and then we'll have a discussion as to who else is in the loop after that. When it comes to the individuals, as we were talking about, obviously if we have a total of 75 slots, then 46%, that 46% being 119 of 257, 46% goes to open, 24% goes to modified, standard 24%, and of course manual 6%. This makes it fairer when the slots are awarded to individuals based on participation in the different qualifiers. Adam, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? You and I talked about this at length over the last couple of years. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing on deciding was how we were going to allocate individual slots, and we decided that was the most fair based on participation, or basically utilization of the masses of that particular division, so that divisions were essentially represented at the level that they were participated in. So similar how some folks have protested in the past, like, well, how come there's so many people, so many revolver people in the World Shoot? It's like, well, so we tried to represent allocate, or we're going to try to allocate based on representation of that division.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. So that way it turns out to be fair pretty much. And I'll be honest with you, it doesn't affect that many people, but obviously we have to take into account if it affects one person, then it's something we got to consider. All right, if we go back to our graphic again, so there were a total of 6 qualifiers. This is the spreadsheet or the data sheet that you guys were tracking. I assume you were all tracking it online. It's exactly the same. The figures are all there. There were a total of 6 matches, which of course is the I haven't got my glasses on, Minnesota, the Texas, South Carolina, Kansas, Minnesota, and Nebraska matches. And by the way, before I go on, a huge thank you to you guys that put on those matches for us, that organized them, the match directors, the staff, and also to all you competitors. I mean, this is an enormous, turnout for shotgun, and I'm super proud of the fact that we've been able to take shotgun to kind of the next level and show the rest of the USPSA that there is an interest in shotgun and so on, because I'm sure you guys know a lot of people say there isn't that much interest. Here is the modified.
If we had a nickel for how many times we heard that.
Yeah, and this was a little bit of a risk for some of those matches, right? Adam and I talked about this.
It was a bit of a risk. It was a lot of risk for all the matches.
Yeah, so I'm very happy and very appreciative to all you guys for coming through and for attending the matches, supporting them, and obviously for those of you who ran the matches. It's awesome. So obviously the spreadsheets for modified and for standard, as I said, this is all available online, and there's standard manual. Again, if I go backwards, you'll see there are only 65 on this screen, but there were actually obviously a lot more people that shot open. And you can see that online, and there were 61 and 62 that shot modified and standard, and 15 that shot manual. So those are the teams. Again, congratulations to everybody. We will be sending out a certificate for each of you that you're going to get awarded. I wish that we could get to the point, and I've talked about this to USPSA, of actually awarding, like some other countries do, awarding some kind of colors, so to basically give you something to show you've represented your country in a world championship. They call them colors in other countries. South Africa has a green jacket that they give to everybody, and I'm hoping one day that we'll do the same. And that will be awarded to these 16 people because they are obviously the division teams. Adam, you want to go through and introduce each one of them?
Sure thing. So we're starting at the top and open then?
Yes, sir.
All right. So open overall open World Shoot team will be Varick Beise, John Wiedell, Scott Greene, and Brian Nelson.
Nice. Very good. Congrats, you guys. Very proud of you. In the modified overall team, we've got AJ, who's my home buddy here in Arizona. Talking to him yesterday. We've got Taylor Ohlhausen, Sam Larkin, and Konnor Fryburger.
And in the standard division, we have Chuck Lowe, Nate Staskiewicz, Evan Craig, and Jeremy Lightner.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to Jeremy and to all of those that sent in content. If you guys weren't in those videos in the beginning, that's not on me. That's on you. You had the chance. I want that content. But thanks to Jeremy, I sent him the wrong password, and I had to had to fix that afterwards. And also about Nate, you better be sending me that thank you, because I promised you, 3 years ago, I told Nate that we would do this, and here we are. So I'm waiting for my email. Anyway, on the manual, last team, the manual, or as you guys call pump action, right? Ross Haney, Samuel Rydberg, Evan Nichols, and Travis Vogel. So congrats to all of you. Now we get down to the category team. So category becomes a little bit more, as I said earlier on, a little bit more complex, because you have to shoot 60% of the overall score. We call that the threshold score. You have to shoot 60% to qualify. So the only category teams that qualified for the first round, in other words, that all 4 people shot 60%, were the standard lady and the open senior. Adam?
So ladies standard is going to be Miss Becky Yackley, Jalise Williams, Hannah Nichols, and Ashlynne Thomas.
And then my good friend Keith Garcia, Mike Whitesides, Doniel, and Santiago Labos are in the open senior team. That's a pretty stacked team, by the way. I forget the exact number, but I think there were like 15 or 16 people vying for that team. Senior is literally unbeatable, so good luck to you guys. So let's talk about the alternates. So obviously, as I mentioned earlier on, we've allocated a couple of alternates to the division teams. We don't have alternates at this stage for category teams. We'll see if we get more numbers. I may well change that. Obviously, more slots is what I meant. But right now, we have Joe Fairwell, Ruben, Sean Miller, Adam. Good job, Adam. Matthew Martini. That is you, Adam Maxwell. There he is. Hey, Max. Jonathan Kahn.
That's my favorite.
And Doniel, Katrina, and Andy Heppard. Now, just on those last 3, we'll talk about this once we know what slots we're getting. And there is also a couple of things we've got to see. If we do put together a manual ladies team in the next round of qualifying, or next round, I should say, of slot awards, then those 3 names will change, because then obviously Doniel and Katrina will jump into the manual ladies team, and then Andy will become the alternate. But obviously, we don't know that yet. So let me talk about the next round, because obviously this is as far as we're going to go. You can see there's roughly 31 slots that are going to be awarded. Those are the slot numbers. The percentages, if you guys hadn't figured it out, are the numbers on the right-hand side.
I think maybe, Leighton, let's touch on the alternates a little bit, because some of that gets confusing there.
Sure.
So my understanding, the way the match is scored is they take the best 3 scores from a national team for your medal placement in the match. You're allowed 1 alternate person or 1 alternate competitor. So USPSA's policy is to field a team of 4. That 4th person is a quote-unquote alternate.
No, 5th person. 5th person. Sorry to interrupt you. So you have a team of 4, and the 5th person is the alternate.
Right. So, but basically, of the team, they're going to take the best 3 of those 4 scores. Correct. And when we're talking about alternates in that yellow box there, that would be if one of the 4 are not able to compete. If something happens in their life, or their ability to travel, or for whatever reason, those are the next people in line to fill slots in the team based on how they placed, applying, and all that sort of stuff.
Correct.
But when we start talking about alternates for what gets confusing pretty quick. So that group that we just listed off there, those would be the next in line to fill vacancies on the team should they become available.
And that actually happens quite a bit more than people realize. As Adam mentioned, there's a lot of reasons: people falling pregnant, people getting hurt, sponsors changing, home life changing, etc. I believe for the handgun world shoot, I had something in the region of 15 to 20 people that changed, although the division teams only changed by 1. So if you are an alternate, don't look at it as being that there's no chance of you taking part. Now, one of the things that comes up sometimes while we're discussing alternates is, if you're an alternate, so let's take Joe. Let's say he's an alternate for the open team, and as he gets closer to the match, maybe in the last month or 6 weeks or so, he decides he's not going to make it into the open team because they're all fit and shooting great, he actually can switch to another division at that stage. It's come up in the past where people change divisions, maybe not from open, but from others. So we can consider that. All you got to do is just give me a shout, and then we can talk about it and see, and so forth. We do need to try and keep alternates available, so as we get closer to the match. But generally, there's always, 1 or 2 or 3 people that are in that line. All right. Adam, let's talk a little bit about where we go from here. So obviously, as you guys can see, there's 31 slots that are awarded here. And as I mentioned earlier on, there's a good chance that we're going to get 50 to 60, maybe even 75 slots in the first and the second round. So when the second round slots come out, and I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm going to speculate and say it's roughly in the middle of February, thereabouts, then it gets a lot easier because we have some extra category teams that come in. We'll end up with a whole lot of individual slots that will be available to people. That's when we fall back to that list that I pointed out earlier on of which individuals, based on the number of people in participation, which individuals get into the match. We're not going to announce any of those names tonight because obviously it's hard to say. And for the most part, I think we're going to have more than enough slots. While I'm saying that, I'm also going to mention that there's a very good chance we get in South Africa, we got up to 100 pre-match slots. Now, before you beat down a pre-match is becoming, they're actually calling it main match 1. And I think there's a possibility in the future that the first match, main match 1, if you want to call it that, pre-match, if you want to call it that, will actually be an individuals match. And the main match will be more of a team match. That's not a rule yet, but it's something that has been discussed behind the scenes. Personally, I think it might work well. But you'll still have to have some people in the main match, in other words, the main match 2, that are individuals in case something changes or we got to put somebody into a team. You don't want to have made bookings and flights and things like that and then say you can't show up. The other thing that's really important to remember about participating in pre-match, it's a great opportunity for people that would otherwise not make it into a division team or category team for them to participate in World Shoot and know ahead of time, because I can pretty much tell you we'll get pre-match, so you could actually make that arrangement now. However, there is a restriction to pre-match. You cannot be a top-tier shooter, so we can't have somebody like Joe, just looking at his name. Joe can't jump into the pre-match because he's obviously potentially got the chance of being on the podium. And not picking on Joe here, but just giving you an example.
Well, yeah, they want to hedge against what happened in France with Josh Freilich. If Josh Freilich would have shot the pre-match and won the whole thing, and then he might have left and he would not be at awards. What they don't want you to do is shoot and scoot, and then the person who won is not at awards. Is that correct?
That is exactly right. And then also there's the weather issue. There's a good chance we're going to have some weather in Greece. So if you had good weather in the pre-match and you had bad weather in the main match, then obviously that gives a competitive advantage to those of you shooting the pre-match. If you're a relatively good shooter and you have good weather and you end up on the podium because of that, it's going to introduce that asterisk finish. We don't want that. All right, let's look at some of the other things. I have covered some of this in an email to you guys in the past, but I'm going to run through it because I'm assuming we're going to have a lot more people watching this video. Again, while I'm talking about that, thank you again to everybody that helped put this together. Thank you to USPSA and to my team here, the Action Streaming guys. They came in and we really appreciate everybody helping out. Sean at Action Gunner, and of course Max himself with his on the Perf podcast. Appreciate
on
you
the
guys
Perf, yes,
all working together on making this happen, and that's something I really want to encourage everyone to do. We can all whine about things occasionally, but the fact is we're on the same side. We're trying to help. We're trying to get things done. We're trying to run it efficiently, add some new things. This is a lot of it that's new to us. So I'm really hoping to try and educate everybody as much as possible so that we have less issues and less drama while you guys are traveling, etc. So the things we're going to cover and just look at briefly are obviously the letter of intent. That's something that we will be discussing as soon as we get the slots. As soon as I get those slots, I promise you guys I will be issuing them to the first 30 or so people. Of course, if we only get 25, it'll be the first 25. Make sure you guys have completed your ESS portal. Remember, I cannot issue the slots unless you have your ESS portal done. If you have questions about that, just shoot me an email. Be happy to answer it. Code of conduct. Make sure you're aware. Make sure you're aware of the code of conduct. What to wear, when to wear, as well as how to behave when you are shooting for the United States and for USPSA. make sure you get your Form 4457. And Adam, as I say that, I've already had a couple of people ask me their rifles, their shotguns are still being built. How do they do a 4457? Well, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm guessing Mike and Lan probably know what your serial number is.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that we found in the past, having run into this a couple of times. If you take any of the serialized parts to Customs Border Patrol and you're very nice to them, they will actually issue a 4457 on that basis alone. So you can ask very nicely, have your gunsmith or whoever's building your gun send it to you, send you that part. You fill in your 4457, you just put the description in there, and I have an example of it on the next couple of slides, and you take it down to CBP. They will issue that, they will sign off on it. You then send that part back to your gunsmith, and hopefully they build the gun and get it finished before you guys have to leave. That way you can get a 4457, because keep in mind, here in the next couple of months we're going to be doing paperwork and organizing permits, and while the permit process to Greece is really simple, it is something you've got to be prepared for.
And it's not America.
Oh, it's very much not America. And if I can pick on the South African guys for a second, we were substantially late submitting our paperwork to South Africa. South Africa also dropped the ball, the police down there, but it was an absolute fiasco getting our permits and stuff. There were people landing in South Africa that didn't have permits, and their guns were being kept at the airport and so forth. So we don't want any of that. We want to try and get this done, so make sure you get your paperwork done ahead of time.
Yep. And I guess I wanted to touch on the ESS portal a little bit too. So like for those not familiar, ESS is the equivalent of having a USPSA number / practice score.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So having a profile in there is the international equivalent of having a USPSA number / being in practice score. So you want to have that squared away ahead of time.
Absolutely. It stands for Electronic Scoring System, ESS. It's the IPSC version of Practice Score, if you want to put it that way. But it also has a lot more features. You will register your firearms in it. Most likely, I shouldn't actually get ahead of myself. It depends on the match. But where they're going with it is that you register your firearms in ESS. You put your passport information in there. You put your flight information in there. And they can issue the permit from that as well as one document. I think I covered this later on, but I'll mention just really quickly now. When you submit your permit to Greece, you have to submit it in Greek. Adam, I don't know how good your Greek is.
Nope, but I have a local here who is good, so I think Peter's going to help me out.
We will. I'll help you guys with that. You basically find the English version of it, and you fill it in, and then you transpose that data over to the Greek version, not knowing what you're signing. But it does work. I've done it before. I've actually been to Greece a few times. It's a great place to go shoot, by the way. Lots of tourist stuff to do. Unlike South Africa and some of the other places we go to, Greece has a ton of stuff. So you're going to need a match invite. That actually might be available. I think I saw something about that already. You need to get your flight sorted out. You need your accommodation. These are often things that they will ask you for to do the permit. Just depends on them. And I have no idea what I meant by project, so we'll just skip that one for a second. And there is the link to the World Shoot website. Keep tracking that every few days or every week or so. They add more information to that. I'm hoping you guys have all these dates already. I put them in here. Make sure that you track those, and I've got some more information on that. There's your match director, Ionis, a really cool guy. He's very excited to have you guys coming to Greece. He has another picture on the IPSC page, but I didn't like it, so I went and pulled this one off his Facebook. By the way, if you guys didn't realize it, some of you's pictures that Max, when he did that video of you, he pulled those pictures off your Facebooks, so we can get some really cool action shots, and I hope you guys don't mind. If you want not taking it off, then let me know. So you're going to get an invite that's going to look like this. That is not the invite. That is an example. I just pulled that off one of the other matches I've been to in Greece, but so you guys can see what that looks like. You need three things when you're walking around or traveling around Greece. You need your match invite, you need your Greek permit, and you need your 4457, technically your passport and your 4457. That's your license. I'll come back to that. So here it is. This is where it is. Corinth is about 80 kilometers west of Athens. It's about an hour's or so drive, hour and a quarter's drive, very easy drive. Beautiful place to be. If you look at that picture, you'll see across the bottom, that's the canal. An incredible engineering feat, and you guys must definitely put that on your list to go visit the canal. Oh, there's a picture of the canal. Yeah, and that's not AI like everybody thinks nowadays. That is real. That's how deep that canal is, cut down into that rock. There's the facility, the coordinates. This is on their website that I pulled it off just to show you where you guys can find this. Let's talk about timeline. So we obviously don't know when the slots are going to arrive. It's going to be shortly. We'll get the first allotment. I'll issue that. I'll let you guys all know about that. When we send those figures back to USPSA, then they will then within about roughly 2 to 3 weeks send us a report saying that we have an additional X amount of slots, and I'll let you know about that. Remember that when you get a slot, you have 7 days to accept that slot and to fill it in and be done, and to send it in. To complete the form and pay for it. We talked about match invites, talked about 4457s. Please make a note, the team dinner. We need somebody to organize that for us. We'll talk about this later on, but set that date in your schedule. It's going to be on the 25th at 7 p.m. That is also the last day of the pre-match, so just keep that in mind if you're shooting pre-match. Opening ceremony is on the 27th. Remember, everybody must be in uniform for that. The main match starts on the 28th, and the shoot-offs and the award ceremony is on the 4th. And again, remember your appropriate dress. Licensing, we've covered some of the things already. Get ready, get these documents ready, so as soon as you get your slot, you're able to complete this and we can start the licensing process. They have a thing called Fast Track. You'll see at the bottom. I never used it in the past, but I'm told it's going to be quicker, and so we'll see whether they use it this time. And obviously, you're going to have to put a photo into your ESS portal if you have not done so already. When you apply to that portal, just remember that you have to apply, and then I have to approve it, that you're a member. I try and follow that every day, so you shouldn't have to wait more than a day. But make sure you get that in ahead of time, because once I start issuing slots, it's a great waste of time, and I have to then try and figure out where you are and you're not in ESS and try and get hold of you, et cetera, et cetera. All right.
I think a good thing to point out here that's different about IPSC that a lot of maybe the long gun folks who are from more of an outlaw background don't necessarily understand. Most things that have to do with you shooting the match overseas, Leighton has to approve, not because he enjoys approving things, but he's our regional director. So as far as IPSC is concerned, you can only shoot the match if you're part of the delegation, and he has to kind of approve all that stuff. So anything you do overseas, even if you're going to shoot any of the other matches, you can't just sign up for it like you can in the US, right? He kind of he has to stamp it, not because that's just how the process works. So when you're going through some of these processes, keep in mind that once you send it off, it's not just going straight to the match director like it is in the US. There's a bit of a bureaucratic process that has to happen for you to get cleared to shoot the match.
Thank you. Yeah, good point. And just remember, that's not my rule. That's an IPSC rule, and it applies to everybody throughout the world. If other countries come to the U.S. to compete, then they have to get their regional director to approve that. All right, so up on the screen, that's the 4457. I've had this question in the past, so I'm pretty sure some of you are going to be talking about it. If you take an extra upper or whatever and an extra item with you, anything that is serialized, you should get a 4457 on. I know, I like to travel with 2 firearms, but not everybody can do that. I only have 1 shotgun anyway. But in this particular case, if you're just traveling with 1, it's 1 4457. I also suggest you put them on separate forms, but you don't have to. You can put more than 1 firearm, rifle, shotgun, whatever, on the same thing. I have not yet had this question from anybody. What about taking another firearm for a concealed carry or something like that? It's probably not allowed because it's not part of the match. But if there's somebody who's determined to do that, reach out to me and I will look into it and find out. In South Africa, they finally relented and let us carry a third firearm. So we had our primary, our backup competition guns, and then you were allowed to take a third firearm. In other words, a carry firearm. But most of these countries, and Greece is one of them, will not allow you to carry hot. So it's one of these things you have to kind of work around and figure out. Adam, anything on that?
No, I would be pretty averse to concealed carrying in a foreign country.
Yeah, they have very different rules and very different policies. And while I'm on that, Adam mentioned this earlier on. When you guys are checking in at the airport, be nice. be polite, be respectful. You're going to be tired after traveling a long way. We get it. But they don't see firearms ownership the way we do. They don't have a Second Amendment, and they're doing you a favor as far as they're concerned. Athens is not bad. I've flown through there, I think, 3 times so far. But just remember, as a rule, just be super chill when you're dealing with customs, or you might be spending a lot more time in customs than what you think. And yes, they will put you back on a plane and fly you home. So,
do you want to give them a vanilla version of what happened in South Africa?
Oh gosh, I was trying not to.
We can leave the names out to protect the innocent, but just kind of give them an idea.
So there was a situation where they didn't have the paperwork. It wasn't the shooter's fault. It was actually all this mess that happened, and the competitor became really hostile, and we had his camera out, and he was filming customs people and saying,
don't do that.
Sue you, and I'm going to get evidence to that. Don't do that. Fortunately for me, somebody called me, and I managed to get somebody down there to calm the situation down. And but we don't want to do that. You may be spending a lot more time there. So as silly as this sounds, that we even have to bring this up, just be chill. If you're flying through some of the other countries that you're just transiting, make sure you get your paperwork right for them as well. We're not going to cover too much of that tonight. But, again, remember that there's a lot of these countries that are not used to people traveling with firearms. And you show up there and you've got a ton of ammunition and stuff. Especially nowadays, it's just it's a sensitive subject. So just be chill when you're doing that. Have all your paperwork ready to go. That's the best way to do it. All right, so we've covered the 44-57. There's the other side of it. That's one of mine for my pistol. They don't expire. I know that on some of the older ones it says it expires. It doesn't expire. I typed mine out to make it look more formal because this is your license. If you are asked for your firearms license in another country, this is your firearms license. No, you don't quote the Second Amendment, and no, you don't say you don't need a license. They don't understand that, and that is not the time to prove a point. So trust me.
Hang on. Has that happened before?
It's happened plenty. We could talk for an hour on that.
The Second Amendment only works in the United States, folks.
Yeah. Just imagine you flying through New York. Didn't say that. All right.
Wow. Oh, we went there.
There's your IPSC registration. This is the ESS portal. Like I said, I think most of you have it already. If you haven't, just go to that. If you can't find it, then just shoot me an email. This is what it looks like once you've completed it. You can see down at the bottom there, it's travel information that you have to fill in, and then I think I don't know how many pages of this. It's about 6 or 7 pages. This is how I do your registration. So if you haven't created ESS, I cannot register you into the match. Obviously, this is handgun that you're looking at right now. Squatting is a problem. Squatting is very, very difficult at World Shoots. I want you to understand there are 8 people to a squad, we think, and there are generally 4 flights in a day. So if you are on a team, 4 people on a team, 8 people on a squad, so 2 teams, there's no other person that can be on it. You can't put an individual on a team squad. It doesn't work. The best we can do is get you onto the same schedule. So when it comes to squatting, if you're a family member, husband, wife, something like that, then it's a lot easier. I can talk IPSC into it, but really they are trying to squad, 500-600 people, and most of the time the squads are full because it's that 8-person squad, so you can't just move a bunch of people around. It's one of these things where you might get to know some people from other countries, and to be honest, that's actually one of the fun things. This particular slide you see here is the equipment check. Make sure that as soon as that opens up, you get in ahead of that. But keep in mind that a lot of times they will allow us to do equipment check pretty much whenever there's spots available. On equipment check.
This was new to me, but like back on the squatting, didn't you also say usually squads are assigned based on team finishes from the previous World Shoot?
Yes, sir.
So first place is usually squatted with second place, and third place is squatted with fourth place, and things like that. So there's a bit of a pecking order predetermined already in how squatting will be for teams, and it's not something you get a whole lot of input in.
100% right. And they go even a step further. They try and squat it so that the top squads finish last, because obviously they're trying to get that photo finish. In South Africa, I was actually involved in some of that, and it really worked out really well because the top guys all had to shoot right at the end of the match, and it was, I mean, we were down to, you take revolver. We literally, if you guys don't know, with revolver in South Africa, it got down to like 1.2 points between all the revolver shooters for the top 3 or 4 positions. It was unbelievable. US, of course, took first, second, third, and fourth. So, going
Yeah.
back to squatting, squatting is largely out of our hands. You know, like I said, we can change some of the things, but they're adverse to doing too much. On the subject of gun check, yes, go ahead.
Really crack match directors, especially in the U.S. Also, they try to do stuff like that too. Just want to throw that out there, you know, for the crowd. You know who you are.
inside story there, I'm sure. Equipment check. We got to talk about equipment check. I'm not very clued up on equipment rules for shotgun, but I'm pretty clued up on equipment rules for handgun, and there were lots and lots of people that showed up in South Africa with handguns that were not correctly spec'd. A particular revolver shooter almost didn't shoot the match because his revolver couldn't be changed to a IPSC friendly or IPSC ruled revolver. So my suggestion is you find somebody who's very familiar with the IPSC rules and make sure that they verify your shotguns up to scratch. As soon as you arrive in Greece and the equipment check opens up, get in there early because that buys you a day or 2 or 3 to go find solutions, and generally people will help out. But this is one of these things that what you don't want to do is be arriving there that, you know, on the last group and you shoot the next day and you then have got a problem with the safety or a problem with this or that or whatever the case is.
Well, usually for shotguns, the main things we've had to check in the U.S. it's if your open gun fits the box, which everybody's shooting a Vepr based or a Genesis based gun. They pretty much fit the box with 10-round mags. So they're going to check your magazines, and then modified, they're going to make sure you fit the gauge with your stendo tube stended. So, and then I don't know that there's really anything particularly they check on standard guns or pump guns. But those are the main things, and that's why we also do tech inspection in the U.S. We haven't really run into anybody. It's usually modified people, and they need a shim in their extended tube is about all we really run into on the equipment check side.
Nothing will make me happier if everybody's guns passed first round, I promise. All right.
There you go, guys.
Okay, let's look at the costs. You guys have covered this already. I'm not going to spend time on this. We know roughly what the costs are going to Greece. Be prepared. It's probably going to be more than you expect. Greece is not an inexpensive country to go to. If this is your last dollar and you're having to mortgage your house, you probably shouldn't be going. There's a lot of people I assume will be watching this podcast. By the way, I didn't mention this, Adam, but we eventually ended up with 119 people that applied for Shotgun World Shoot attendance. So obviously that's an enormous number. It's probably 3 times what we've expected. So there will be some new people going and some people that have never been outside the U.S. to attend a match.
What do you mean, you people?
Well, I'm there too, but I've been out a couple of times.
Yeah,
just a couple.
They told us it couldn't be done. They said nobody cares about shotgun. Well, we got at least 100, 120.
That's right. 120 applications. You had just under 300 people that shot all the qualifier matches.
Yes, that is true.
120 applications. All right. Flights. I covered this in an email here a few months ago, and then shortly after the email, I saw a bunch of you guys talking on Facebook about what flights you're going to take, and I noticed there was some that I had not suggested. Hey, it's on you. You fly with whatever airline you want to fly with, but remember my comment that don't save that $200 and end up with a what's it called, code share flight or something like that. So the number one piece of advice I'm going to give to you guys is call and talk to the airline and tell them you're traveling with firearms. And if it's a split flight, if you're flying Delta on one and then some Iberia or something on another, make sure you talk to both airlines. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you talk to the rifle people, I believe we had 12 people on the rifle team that could not use their flights and had to buy extra tickets. PCC World Shoot, I won't mention his name, but he's a pretty good PCC shooter. I think he took 4 or 5 attempts to get on a plane. He called me from here. I was already over there and said, I'm not coming. I'm like, you better be coming. You're our top shooter. But again, make sure you confirm with the airline that they're fine with you flying with firearms. That's the big deal.
Or get a PJ, a private jet.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
$250,000,
Yeah,
something
no
like
problem.
that. Don't fly via London. I know it's possible, and I know somebody did it the other day, but I also know someone did it and got arrested. So avoid London and some of the other airports that are anti-gun. Okay, traveling with guns. This is pretty obvious, but I got to put it in here because probably 75% of the issues I deal with as the team, whatever I am, director, are paperwork. Make sure you pack correctly. Remember, it's 5 kilos per person, even though I know we all pack 5 kilos per bag. Disclose your
What?
travel. Yeah, I've heard that.
That
Disclose.
would be illegal.
That would be illegal. By the way, when I was at CES last week, I met somebody from the FAA, and I had this conversation with him. I got absolutely nowhere.
Oh,
Check in,
don't
disclose
tell
your
them.
travel. Use the term sporting firearms. Don't joke about firearms in the airport. I use the term toys when I travel. I talk about toys. I'm packing my toys because that way it doesn't trigger somebody. Have your paperwork ready to go. I know that sounds obvious, but I speak from experience where when I came back from France a couple of years ago, I left my paperwork at the range by mistake and I ended up at the airport 4 hours away without paperwork. But I had it on my phone, so I was able to get through that. There was a little fussiness about it. But anyway, be patient. Back to that paperwork. I keep a set of paperwork in my gun case. I keep a set of paperwork on me, and I keep a set in my phone, at least. That way, you've got something no matter what. Don't be a comic. I'm going to name him because he doesn't mind being named. Bill Drummond, when he came back, he came through customs. I can't remember where we were going. He joked with the customs guy about whether he should pick up his bag or not, and the customs guy didn't think it was funny and sent it to the back of the line, and we all had to wait for him to clear before we could proceed on with our flights. So that's not the time to be a comic. He's going to
Customs guys, generally speaking, did not put that on their kindergarten posters what they want to be when they grow up. So they tend not to really have a sense of humor. They are listening for trigger words, though. So if you say one of the magic words, you're going to initiate a chain reaction.
Yeah. Or they're bored and they're just looking for something to do.
Or that.
Yeah. If you fly through New York, that's one of the problems. Okay, driving on the right side of the road. That would be the left and right, meaning the right side. I say that because some countries in Europe are left side of the road, but in this case, it's right. Got to wear a seatbelt. Mobile phones are illegal. Alcohol, etc. I'm sure you guys all know that. The speeding is a problem. They have camera radar now that time you between points. And I normally don't speed, but I've been caught 3 times now in Europe over the last year. So
No.
I know. And it's just not fun. As your $20 ticket costs you $20 ticket costs you like $35 by the time you're done with all the fees.
But will it hit my insurance?
It will not hit your insurance, but the car rental people get fussy.
Oh.
All right. And no, there is no turn on left. It's always a question that everyone gets asked. All right. Huge thank you to Adam for joining us here tonight and for all the work. Adam has put in hours and hours and hours with me putting together the different things, putting together protocols going forward, not just this one, but all the others. John helped us out a lot. Jim Boone, I think Jim Boone is on the call with us tonight. Obviously, we're streaming, so I can't see who's listening. But great help. He's an absolute genius with spreadsheets. I hope you guys understand the scoring system better, and if necessary, then I will give more detail on that. Obviously, we're running this from our setup here in studio in Scottsdale, GG3 Sports. Max over there and Joe came in to help us. Appreciate that. Those of you who sent us content, really appreciate that. Send us some more. We're going to be doing more in the future. Josh, I think, was going to or did send. I don't know, did we get content from Josh, but he said he would. Becky.
I'm sure.
And a bunch of other people did send us, so thank you to those. Big thank you to Rick at USPSA for organizing this and to Jake for helping share it. And then, of course, our managing director of USPSA, Alan, and my assistant at USPSA, Lori. And did you want to thank the other guys?
I wanted to give a big shout out to everybody who helped with the matches at the qualifier series last year, the match directors, Mike and Lynn in Texas, John in Kansas, Donnie in South Carolina, and Tom Bush in Nebraska, and of course all my peeps at the Forest Lake Sportsman's Club, Timmy, Kevin, Spencer, Josh, all you guys for putting down really good matches last year, and really, I think, unprecedented on the long gun side as far as a qualifier series. So
perfect. And I apologize, I spelled Forest wrong. So sorry to the guys at Forest Lakes. And that's it for our live stream. We're going to cut this piece off, and then we're going to go to a Q&A section where we can talk to you guys. I can't see questions, but I will see if we can figure out how to see the questions, and if necessary, we'll do a quick Zoom call after this if I have to go to that. So appreciate you guys all signing in. We will have this recorded, obviously, and we will have this posted on social media. Feel free to share those videos that we put up for you guys. I hope you enjoy them, and we'll be doing more of those kinds of things going forward. All right.